So why are we thinking the blanket is warm, but the tile is cold when they are the same temperature? Right?
Interesting. And the funny thing is, we do make that distinction because you will look at the blanket and call it warm and call the tile cold or cool.
Even
though they're sitting there together.
They're sitting there together at the same temperature. Okay, so here's the thing. If the blanket were actually a source of warmth, you could put it over the tile, wait a while, peel back the blanket, and then the tile would be warmer than the surrounding tiles. The point is, the blanket doesn't make anything warm. It is completely passive in this. It's not a source of warmth. If it were, you could put it on something cold to warm it up. Okay?
True. That makes sense. It is not a source.
It is not a source, even though our language calls it a warm blanket or warm mittens or warm anything else. Okay.
Right.
So what we really mean when we say a garment is warm is that it does not transmit heat energy.
Right.
That's all we mean, even though that's not what we're saying. If you put the blanket on the tile, there is no heat difference between them, so nothing is happening. There's no, okay, so now watch. Now I put it on you. Mm-hmm. So you are warmer than the blanket if you got the blanket out of the closet or on the shelf, okay?
Right.
The blanket's just room temperature. You are warmer than the blanket, and right now you are radiating heat to the air.
Yes, I am.
Losing heat. You feel cold because you're losing heat to the air, okay? And then you say, oh, there's a warm blanket. Let me go get it. So now you bring the blanket, and now the blanket doesn't let you lose the heat to the air. You keep that heat, and you interpret what's going on as the blanket being warm, when all that's happening is that you are no longer losing the heat you were a minute before you put on the blanket. Now, you might say that's just semantic. No. Okay, because let's say you brought in some cold beer, okay, and so before you don't have any ice yet, but you got it out of the refrigerator cabinet and it's cold beer and it's sitting on the floor, and you say, I don't want the beer to warm up. Let's get a warm blanket to put on it, okay? Okay, because how does the beer get warm? It's taking heat from the air. Okay, right. Because the air is warmer than the beer. So what you need is super blanket that does not transmit heat energy across its thickness. So you take a blanket, put it on the beer, it'll keep the beer cold by preventing heat from coming from outside of the beer from entering the beer.
Oh, man. So
the point is, so the blanket that you're calling a warm blanket is also a cold blanket.
It's a cold blanket too. Now,
and by the way, we have another word for things like that you carry around, and it's called a thermos.
Okay, that's true. Right.
So I just wanted to clarify the fact that warm blankets are simply blankets that don't transmit heat energy, and it'll work keeping your beer cold or you warm. And more broadly, it'll maintain the temperature of whatever it is it's covering. So basically, this is what insulation is. Insulation. We don't think of blankets as insulation, but that's what they are. And if one blanket is not working for you, you get a second blanket.
Right.
So the two combined make it even harder for heat to transfer from one place to another. We may have talked about this in another explainer, Chuck. I'm not sure. But you will feel cold if you are losing heat to your environment.
Right.
Yes. And you will feel warm if you are gaining heat from the environment, or if your heat does not lose to the environment, has a hard time leaving your body going into the environment.
Yeah, we talked about that during wind chills.
Well, wind chill, we did talk about that. That's right.
We talked about that during wind chills.
I had some memory of that. So warm mittens, what makes mittens warm? They keep in your fingers touching each other.
Right.
In a mitten, when one finger loses heat, it goes to the next finger.
Right.
Well, you want that heat. So you're radiating to yourself inside the mitten, right? Whereas gloves, where all your fingers are separated, It's trying to prevent your skin from making thermal contact with the air, but you have all this surface area on each finger for each finger of the glove. And so that's why it's harder to keep your fingers warm in gloves than it does in mittens. That's all this is ever doing.
And that's a wonderful metaphor for where we are in America right now. America, the country that prides itself on being a glove where each finger is independent of one another, when right now what we really need to be is a mitten, each one of us giving heat to one another, relying upon each other in order to be warm together. So,
Chuck, I didn't think you had it in you. Chuck, that was beautiful. That's beautiful, Chuck.
Kumbaya is great. I forgot about that.
But what that means is, if you jump into if you have a partner in bed who's been there for some time, holding aside your wife's feet, which top researchers are still working on. If you have a partner that's been in bed under the covers, under the quote warm blanket, and you've been outside and you feel cold because you're losing heat faster than your body is comfortable, and you say, I'm going to jump in bed. The moment you jump in bed, you will touch your partner and start taking heat from them.
Right.
The moment you start taking heat from them, you feel warm. And you say, oh, honey, you're warm. And what do you feel like to her? Oh, my gosh.
What I feel like to her is a call to her divorce lawyer.
Is that what that is? Not, so you're taking heat from her. The fact that she's losing heat from you means she feels cold.
Right.
So two people cannot feel warm with each other at the same time. You can be neutral. One will feel cold, the other hot. One will feel hot, the other cold. But you both can't feel warm touching each other. Thermodynamically, that's not possible. And that's all I got to say about blankets.
All right. You pulled it off. I'm going to give it to you.